Please fast forward to the end of the video if you want to see all my picks right away. The Jets take on the Chiefs, and that's going to be a 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff, and that's going to be at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. Now, the Chiefs are the 19-point favorite. Incredibly high spread here for an NFL game. Probably one of the highest point spreads in years. But anyway, once again, the Chiefs are the 19-point favorite. Total's 48. Now, we're 4-1 in our last 5 daily best plays on patreon.com/BrockPage. And access to the daily best play costs just $1.99. We're also hitting at 60% in our last 10 extra daily picks on that site as well. And access to the extra daily pick costs just $2.99. Now, we currently have over 790 members signed up and active on that page. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. Now, the Jets are plus 1,000 for an upset outright victory. If you think they're going to do it. And anyway, the Jets, they covered their first point spread of the 2020 season this past Sunday against the Buffalo Bills. Having said that, though, they're still just 1-6 against the spread for the entire season and 0-7 straight up. Still waiting to get that first W. Now, the Jets are dead last in scoring, dead last in passing. They're throwing for less than 190 yards per contest. The New York quarterbacks have also been sacked 24 times and have thrown 7 interceptions collectively. And the Jets also rank dead last in average yards per play. They're also last in fourth quarter scoring. Now, Crowder, Jenkins, Ficken, Lewis, and Perriman are all questionable for New York. They are taking on a Kansas City team who won their last 2 straight, and they successfully covered the number in both of those contests. And speaking of covering the number, Kansas City's gone 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 ball games. Very good covering team as of late, and they had marquee covers over the likes of Buffalo and Baltimore during that short span. Now, the Chiefs are 6-1 straight up for the entire season, and they rank in the top 5 in the league in scoring. Patty Mahomes is just 1 yard shy of 1,900 passing yards on the season already. 16 touchdowns to just 1 interception. He's also rushing for 4.9 yards a carry and scored a couple of times on the ground as well. Mahomes' favorite target has been tight end Travis Kelce, 40 catches, 501 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill also has 439 receiving yards on the season, 5 scores for him. And when it comes to this KC rushing attack, they're averaging $135 a game, mostly thanks in part to rookie Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's got 551 yards on the season and a couple of scores. Now, Kansas City's in the top 10 in yards per play, top 3 in fourth quarter scoring. The Chiefs have won 2 out of 3 at Arrowhead Stadium, and they covered the number twice during that span. Now, Schwartz and Charlton are questionable for this Sunday. And when it comes to the total in this one, 4 out of Kansas City's last 6 contests did stay under the posted total. Meanwhile, the Jets saw their last 3 straight stay under the number themselves. 2-1 to the under when they travel. They just don't put up enough points. So kind of a quirky lean here, but give me the Kansas City Chiefs minus 19 and the under 48 in that contest. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick timeout and welcome you to the video. Got some lines and personal leans out for NFL Week 8. This is our Part 2 video, by the way. Part 1, I'll include a link in the comments section below if you want to take a look at Part 1. But anyway, welcome to the Part 2 video here. And before we dive into some more free content, just have to quickly remind you once again that we are currently 4-1 in our last 5 daily best plays on patreon.com/BrockPage. And access to that content costs just $1.99. We're also hitting at 60% in our last 10 extra daily picks on that site as well. And access to the extra daily pick costs just $2.99. Now, we currently have over 790 members signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join them and get in on the action, link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, That's patreon.com/Brock Page. Moving on, we're going to take a look at the Rams-Dolphins, 1 p.m. Eastern start time in Miami. Now, the Rams are the 3-point favorite on the road. No total posted as of yet. Probably look to see that number post here shortly, probably today, as the Rams just played last night on Monday Night Football. But anyway, the Dolphins are plus $1.60 for some money line cash. Now, the Dolphins are coming off a bye week. They're going to give this Tua thing a shot here, even after some sustained success with Fitzmagic. But anyway, not sure how the Fins are going to do offensively, but what I do know is that they've lost 2 of 3 at home this season, and they do rank in the top 3 in the league in most yards allowed per play at home. Now, the Dolphins are giving up over 300 yards a game passing at Hard Rock Stadium, and they rank in the bottom 10 in the league in third quarter scoring at home. Now, Van Noy, Parker, and Van Ginkel are all listed as questionable. Miami's taking on a Rams squad who looked very impressive last night on Monday Night Football. Their defense gave up just 3 total points in that game. The Bears' lone touchdown was a scoop and score. That's what helped them get to 10 points. But as far as the defense goes, the Rams' D only gave up 3 points last night. The Rams have won 3 out of their last 4, and they find themselves 5-2 overall for the season. Jared Goff's throwing for over 255 yards a game and a dozen scores. He's been very efficient, slightly better than a game manager. His favorite targets have been wideout Cooper Kupp, who has 417 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. Robert Woods also has 30 grabs for 351 and 3 touchdowns as well. This Rams rushing attack has also been in full effect this season. Nearly 140 yards a game they're gaining on the ground. Darrell Henderson's carried it 87 times for 412 yards and 3 scores. Malcolm Brown's also punched it into the end zone 3 times on the ground. He's averaging 4.2 yards a carry. Now, this Rams defense has been equally as impressive on the other side of the ball. Top 3 in the league in fewest points allowed. Top 5 in fewest passing yards allowed as well. LA's got 24 sacks on the season already, and they have 8 takeaways. Now, Aaron Donald has 8 sacks through 7 games, 22 total tackles, and 2 forced fumbles. Micah Kaiser currently leads the club in tackles with 53 of them. He's all over the field. And defensive back Darius Williams also has a pair of interceptions and 4 PBUs from that corner spot. This Rams defense is in the top 5 in fewest yards allowed per play. They're also in the top 3 in fewest fourth quarter points allowed. Now, tight end Tyler Higbee, he's questionable for this Sunday's action. And when it comes to the total in this one, LA's last 4 straight stayed under the posted number. Meanwhile, the Dolphins on the other side saw 3 out of their last 4 stay under the line themselves. They're 2-1 to the under on their home field. So with all that said and done, I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Rams -3, getting the job done against the number. And I'm probably going to end up leaning toward the under in that game, of course, if that number opens up within reason. All right, next matchup. It is going to be Chargers-Broncos, 4:05 p.m. Eastern start time. The Chargers are the 3-point favorite on the road. Totals 44 and a hook. Now, Denver's currently plus $1.50 for an outright win. And despite a tough one against Kansas City this past Sunday, really tough game. We're barely competitive. Having said that, though, the Broncos have still won 2 out of their last 3, and they do find themselves 4-2 against the spread for the entire season. So they have been a good covering team. This Denver defense ranks in the top 10 in fewest rush yards allowed per contest. They're also in the top 10 in fewest yards allowed per play. They've gotten to the quarterback 18 times, and they're averaging a takeaway a game. Now, Bradley Chubb currently leads this club in sacks with 4.5. He also has 7.5 tackles for loss and 17 total tackles on the year. Linebacker Malik Reed also has 4 sacks on the season, 22 total tackles. And linebacker Alexander Johnson currently leads this team in tackles with 46. Now, Atuachu, Lindsey, Spencer, Fant, Beck, and Tuska are all listed as questionable for the Broncos. Now, Denver is taking on a Charger team who lost 4 out of their last 5, and they rank in the top 10 in the league in most passing yards allowed per contest. LA's just 2-4 straight up on the season, and they lost 2 out of 3 ball games when traveling. Now, Balaga, Taylor, Turner, Groy, Hill, and Norton, they are all questionable for Los Angeles. Keep an eye on them. Austin Eckler is still on the IR, and Marquise Pouncey is done for the season. Now, total-wise, when it comes to the number in this one, the Chargers did see their last 3 straight ball games get over the posted total. They're also 2-1 to the over when they travel. Meanwhile, the Broncos on the other side saw 2 out of their last 3 get over the posted number themselves. So with all that in mind, give me the Underdog Broncos +3 and the over 44.5 in that contest. All right, next matchup I have for you, it is going to be Saints-Bears, and that's going to be a 4:25 p.m. Eastern kickoff at Soldier Field in Chicago. Now, the Saints are the 4-point favorite on the road here. No total posted as of yet. Chicago's plus $1.75 for an outright win. Chicago got thumped last night on Monday Night Football by the final of 24-10. That's going to make it 2 losses out of their last 4 ball games. Their other loss came against the Colts, where they were down 3 scores in the final seconds of that ball game. Now, Chicago's in the bottom 10 in the league. I'm sorry, they were down 2 scores in the final minutes. I'm sorry. But anyway, Chicago's in the bottom 10 in the league in scoring, bottom 3 in rushing. They're rushing for less than 75 yards a game, and they've scored only 2 rushing touchdowns all season. These guys are very bad offensively. The Chicago quarterbacks are also throwing for less than 245 yards per contest, and they've thrown a combined 9 interceptions on the season. This Bears O-line has also given up 15 sacks on the year as well. Chicago's in the bottom 3 in yards per play, bottom 3 in third quarter scoring. They also failed to cover the point spread in 2 out of their last 3 at Soldier Field. Now, McManus, Robinson, and Whitehair are all questionable. The Saints, on the other side, they are on a nice little 3-game winning streak themselves. Wins over Carolina, the Chargers, and Detroit during that stretch. Now, New Orleans, they rank in the top 10 in the NFL in scoring, top 10 in passing. Drew Brees is completing 73% of his passes this season, 11 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions. He's also thrown for over 1,600 yards. His favorite target's been Alvin Kamara out of the backfield, who's caught 46 balls for 460 yards and 3 scores. Kamara's also getting the job done on the ground as well. He's averaging 4.9 yards a carry and 364 yards rushing. He's also punched it into the end zone 4 times on the ground. This New Orleans defense also ranks in the top 5 in the league in fewest rush yards allowed per contest. Couple more things to add here about New Orleans. They're in the top 10 in fewest yards allowed per play on the road. Now, Trey Hendrickson, he has 4.5 sacks on the season for New Orleans, 5.5 tackles for loss, and 14 total tackles. Demario Davis currently leads this New Orleans franchise in tackles with 38. Thomas and Easton are questionable. Give me the Saints -4, getting the job done against the number. All right, next matchup I have for you, it is going to be Niners taking on the Seahawks, and that's going to be a 4:25 p.m. Eastern kickoff in Seattle. Now, the Seahawks are -3.5 at home, totals 54 flat. The Niners are plus $1.45 for an outright win, and despite their injuries, and believe me, they've been plentiful, this Niners squad is currently on a 2-game winning streak, victories over the likes of the Patriots and the very impressive Rams. Now, San Francisco's a perfect 3-0 straight up on the road, 3-0 against the spread in those ball games. They rank in the top 10 in rushing, top 3 in road scoring. The Niners are rushing for nearly $1.40 a game, and they already have a dozen rushing touchdowns on the ground. Now, the Niners are also in the top 10 in fewest points allowed, top 3 in fewest pass yards allowed per contest as well. So, as bad as they've been in spots, they have been banged up, but still, they got a good core group of guys that can compete. They have a dozen sacks on the season, and they forced double-digit turnovers, mostly thanks in part to 8 interceptions from this Niners secondary. Cornerback Jamar Taylor has a pair of interceptions from the secondary, 10 tackles, 2 TFLs, and linebacker Fred Warner also has himself a couple of interceptions from that linebacker spot. 57 total tackles and 2 tackles for loss. This Niner defense ranks in the top 3 in the league in fewest fourth quarter points allowed on the road. Now, of course, I said before, a lot of injuries, so keep these guys in mind. Ward, Alexander, Tart, James, and Wilson, they're all questionable. And Deebo Samuel, he's been ruled out with a hammy. Now, the Niners are taking on a Seattle team who hasn't been all that sound defensively, and I'm kind of starting to get the feeling they're a product of a fairly soft opening schedule. Of course, not their fault. You got to play who you got to play on the schedule, but I think they've been beaten up on some very bad defenses. But regardless of that speculation, the Seahawks are coming fresh off a loss to the Arizona Cardinals where they gave up 37 total points. They blew a double-digit halftime lead to get the loss in that one. And sadly, they actually scored 27 first-half points and still found a way to blow it in overtime. Now, Seattle's failed to cover the point spread in their last 2 straight, and they rank in the top 3 in the league in most pass yards allowed per contest. They're a very sloppy football team. I'm just going to throw that out there. And they have given up 23 points or more in all of their football games this season. Now, Ayupati, Hyde, Adams, Griffin, Carson, and Homer, they're all questionable for the Seahawks. That's like every running back they have. Now, total-wise, the Seahawks saw 2 out of their last 3 ball games stay under the posted total. Meanwhile, the Niners' last 2 straight also stayed under the line. They're 3-1 to the under in their last 4. Give me the Underdog Niners plus 3.5 and the under 54 in that contest. All right, next matchup. It's going to be a barn burner. I'm talking about Sunday night football. Cowboys taking on the Eagles. 8:20 p.m. Eastern start time in South Philly at the Link. The Birds are -7, totals 43 and a hook. The Cowboys are plus 284, an upset win on the road. Now, Dallas is officially the worst covering professional football team in America. 0-7 against the spread thus far in the season. They're winless 0-3 straight up when they travel. They rank in the top 3 in the league in most points allowed per contest. Dallas is currently on a 2-game losing streak while also dropping 4 out of their last 5. Now, this Dallas Cowboys football team, they rank in the top 3 in most rush yards allowed per contest. Their offense is also in the bottom 3 in road scoring on average per game. Andy Dalton's completing just 61% of his passes, 3 interceptions, and just 1 touchdown. He's also been sacked 7 times, and there's really no telling if he's going to even play this Sunday night. He's currently in concussion protocol. So if Dalton doesn't get the nod, we're going to see some guy named Ben DiNucci out of James Madison University. I think that's Harrisonville, Virginia. Harrisonville, I think. But anyway, JMU, James Madison. Not a lot of people have even heard of it. The Dukes, I think, is what they're called. But anyway, DiNucci was sacked 3 times in mop-up duty Sunday. And one more thing to add about this Dallas defense. Their secondary has just 1 interception through 7 games. Dalton and Martin are once again listed as questionable. Smith, Collins, and Hill, they're on the IR. Now, Dallas is taking on an Eagles team who really isn't all that much better. Rarely have been impressive this year. Having said that, though, they are coming off an inspired come-from-behind victory to beat the Giants in their last contest. And believe me, they are only 1 point better than the New York Football Giants. They also rank in the top 10 in the league in fewest yards allowed per play, top 10 in fewest pass yards allowed per game as well. Now, the Eagles have a staggering 24 sacks on the season, 8 takeaways as well. Brandon Graham has 6 sacks already. Derek Barnett with 3.5. Josh Sweat with 3. And linebacker Nate Gary currently leads the club with 57 total tackles. The Birds are in the top 3 in the league in fewest second quarter points allowed. They're also in the top 5 in the league in fourth quarter scoring. And as bad as he's been, Carson Wentz is throwing for over 250 yards a game, along with 10 touchdowns. And his favorite target's been some guy named Travis Fulgham, who has 23 grabs for 357 and 3 scores. Also can't forget about former Houston Cougars quarterback Greg Ward, who is playing wide receiver for some reason for Philadelphia, and he has 29 catches and 3 touchdown grabs himself. So kind of these no-name guys have been performing better and have a whole lot less drops than the Eagles receiving core over the past 4 seasons. But anyway, when it comes to this rushing attack, as iffy as he's been in spots, running back Miles Sanders is gaining 6.1 yards a clip and has scored 3 times on the ground. And one more thing to note, Carson Wentz is averaging 5.3 yards a carry from that quarterback spot. He's rushed it into the end zone 5 times for a combined total of 15 touchdowns on the year, both rushing and passing combined. Jackson, Johnson, Driscoll, Wallace, and Miles Sanders, they are all questionable. So I was kind of touting Miles Sanders. Just keep an eye on him. He's banged up. Of course, tight end Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, they're out. So when it comes to the scoring in this one, the Eagles saw 3 out of their last 5 stay under the posted total. They're in the bottom 10 in the league in scoring on average per game. Meanwhile, 2 out of the Cowboys' last 3 road games stayed under the number. And I'm really not sure they're going to be able to move the ball with some guy named Ben DiNucci at the helm or Andy Dalton if he gets cleared. So with all that said and done, give me the Philadelphia Eagles -7 and the under 43.5 in an ugly, sloppy game. All right, next and final matchup for the show, it is going to be Monday Night Football. I'm talking about the Bucs Giants, 8:15 p.m. Eastern start time at MetLife Stadium, the Meadowlands in New Jersey. Now, the Bucs are the 11-point favorite on the road. Total's 46 and a hook. The G-Men are plus 425 for an upset win. Now, as bad as their record indicates, yeah, I'm going to go there. This Giants football team has actually been very good against the number recently. They successfully covered the point spread in 3 out of their last 4, and they actually held their opponents to 22 points or less in 3 out of those 4 contests as well. Their defense ranks in the top 10 in the league in fewest rush yards allowed per contest. They're also in the top 5 in fewest first quarter points allowed at home. Kyler Fackrell and Leonard Williams, they both lead this defense in sacks with 3 apiece. And cornerback James Bradbury also has 3 interceptions on the year, along with 25 tackles and a fumble recovery. These guys aren't hapless. They can stay in games. It's really just their offense that has been struggling. But their defense has been very good. And, of course, can't forget about Blake Martinez, who leads this team in tackles with 73 of them. This guy's all over the place, man. Incredible player. He also has 2 sacks, 5.5 tackles for loss, and a fumble recovery. Now, Freeman, Colbert, Board, Crowder, and Holmes are all questionable for the Giants. Meanwhile, on the Tampa side, kind of tough to nitpick, but I am because there's a couple things I see here. They failed to cover the point spread in 2 out of their last 4, and those were failures to cover against the likes of Chicago and the Chargers. Now, Chicago was a team that the Giants successfully covered the number against. Tampa's lost 2 of 4 when traveling this season, so they're not all that great on the road, and they rank in the bottom 10 in road rushing. Meanwhile, defensively, as good as these guys have been in certain spots, and believe me, they've been good in many different facets this season, but defensively, they rank in the top 5 in the league in most second quarter points allowed. So keep that in mind. Kind of a quirky stat there, but if the Giants are going to get on the board, might end up being in the second quarter. Now, total-wise, 2 out of Tampa's last 3 contests stayed under the posted total. Meanwhile, 3 out of the Giants' last 4 stayed under the line themselves. The Giants are officially 71% to the under for the entire season, 2-1 to the under at home. So with all that said and done, give me the Underdog Giants plus 11, keeping this one close, and the under 46.5 in that ball game. All right, with that, let's go ahead and dive into our quick pick recap, once again brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage. I like Kansas City, -19, under 48. Rams, -3, and the under in that ball game. The total hasn't been released, but if it comes out within reason, I'm going to lean toward the under. I also like the Broncos +3, over 44.5. Saints -4, no total posted for that game. Niners +3.5, under 54. Eagles -7, under 43.5 in a sloppy one. And last but certainly not least, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna lean toward the G-Men, +11 in the under 46.5 in that contest. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. If you guys decide to get a package here today, just keep in mind We'll bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Tuesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.